Yo, yo, yo. Hello, hello. Yo, yo, people. You know the drill. Room's open a little bit early here. If you can hear me, you can see me. Okay, I can see myself here. Great. Let me know. Let me know everything's working okay. Hello, Zed. Welcome back. How are you doing, Zed? The usual here. I'm gonna try and get the link out. Share it to the usual places. You can hear me. Great. Fantastic. Good, 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 good. Still a bit early. We're just hanging out here. Still haven't really found a system for how to start this because I just sort of kind of dump in, like I just roll in at 8 and then it's like, ask me something. So, all good. Can have a look at the chat here. I just want to get some links out so people know that we're up and running. Said, I see your messages there. Don't worry, I will get to them now in just a minute. Just want to make sure. I need a better system for getting this link out. Three people, two people. Welcome, people. Gonna get started soon. I see your question, Zed, and I will read it out. It's a good question. Just want to make sure we're up and running. But thanks for getting that in. And thanks for showing up every week. Zed, where are you based? Alexander, how are you doing? Welcome. Zed, let me know where you're based. Where are you at? User HW, hello, hello, welcome. Just waiting for more people to join in, and then I'll get going proper. But welcome, people. India? Sorry, Zed, if you've told me that before. I was actually talking to Rebecca today about a really cool project in India. I'm not sure specifically where it was. It was featured on the zine, but we were talking about it. It was amazing. It was like this it was a bridge that was converted into a house. It was unbelievable. So yeah, that was cool. I'll talk about that soon. But welcome, people. Still a bit early. I guess this is what we call the pre-show. Don't really know what that means, but maybe I'll get some structure for it as we go forward. But in the meantime, I'm going to share this link here over on Instagram for people who follow me over there. No. 1 minute to go. 1 minute to go. Raha, welcome. You know the drill, people. Wait for 8 o'clock. Get the link out. Bit of housekeeping. Give everyone 5 minutes to join. We had some slow joining last week, actually. I think it was like normally we have about 20, but then at about 8 last week, it was like 5 to 7 for like 30 minutes, and then the room just filled up all of a sudden. A lot of latecomers last week. What was that about? Guys, you're late for class. That's unacceptable. We can't have that. 8 o'clock now. Okay, 8 o'clock. So there's people coming in. Welcome, welcome. If you haven't introduced yourself yet, do say hello. I'm just getting a link out here now onto Instagram. And we usually just get started around 8:05. So feel free to fire a message or a question into the chat now, and then I will get through them in good time. But welcome back, Raha. User, I do see your question. I will read it out in just a minute. Okay, it's gone out on the story now. 8:01, gonna give it to around 8:05 people. So if you're just joining, do say hello. Samuel, hello, hello. Samuel, is this your first time? Did we meet last week? If it's your first time, welcome. If it's not your first time, I apologize. But Samuel, nice to see you. Good evening to you too. Raha, oh, all-nighter day today. We'll talk about that in a minute. Raha, can you remind me, where are you based as well? Zed's based in India. I just like to remember people who regularly come back, just so it's not always Middle East. Okay, understood. Samuel, first time watching the stream live. Welcome, Samuel. And I'm glad that you sometimes watch the stream not live as well, because I always say that. I always find that really crazy how I mean anyone who's aware of the YouTube channel itself, like my videos generally usually hit around Trent Allen, welcome, welcome, hello, hello. Videos that I post on YouTube usually get around somewhere between 500 and 1,000 views, which is pretty decent. But what always well, I mean, it's decent for a channel my size. But what I always find really surprising is how many the views on the live streams, once they've been recorded, just shoot up, which I love because it can only mean that people who miss the stream go watch the stream anyway, which is fantastic. So I'm very, very happy about that. People, I just see that there's more people coming into the room. I think there's 6 of us here now. So it's 8:03 on my time, but we'll give it a couple of minutes and then we'll kick off with some housekeeping and we'll get into it. So if you're just joining, introduce yourself, say hello, get your questions in, because the questions really are the heart and the structure of the show. And if you don't ask questions, I'm just going to talk about what I want to talk about, and that's terrible. So do get your questions in. And welcome back, everyone. Good to see a lot of you. A lot of familiar faces. Always great. Just double checking that link went out. JD, welcome. How often do you do these? Every Thursday. And I'm pretty sure, let me see, who have I got here? Raha, Trent, Zed. You can confirm here for JD, because I know you guys have been here almost every week. Every Thursday, like clockwork, 8 p.m. my time. So the live's always the live is 8 p.m. every Thursday. And then the live stream as an episode goes out like 12 hours later. That's how long it takes YouTube to process. So then you can just catch up on them in your free time. But JD, welcome. Always like seeing a fresh face in the chat. So welcome. If you have a question, get your architecture question if you'd like. But okay, 8 now in the chat. I'm gonna give it one more minute, and I'm slowly gonna move my way through the chat. So let me know how everyone's doing. Dan, hello, Dan. Welcome back. Dan, I enjoyed your comment this week. Actually, just double checking that. Apologies, Dan. Making sure it's the correct Dan. But welcome, people. Hello, hello, hello. Do introduce yourself. You know the drill. Usually takes a little bit of time here before we get going proper. But do say hello. Do introduce. Yeah, Dan, that was your comment this week. I really enjoyed that on the Guggenheim video. Thanks for joining. We're up to 9 people now. 8:05. If we get to 10 people, I'll kick off the show. Just 10 on my end. But maybe I'll not be stubborn, really, at the end of the day. I'm just happy that any of you are here, so that's great. So we're at 9 now. 9 people in the room. Fantastic. So if you're here and you haven't said hello, do say hello. If you're here and you haven't asked a question, do ask a question. But this is episode 7 of CRUMCAST. That's funny. I'm actually on a form of a diet this week, so maybe that was a little bit of a Freudian slip. CRUMCAST episode 7. So this would be the 6th episode in a row, and I'm counting the initial first ever episode. Montoot Studio, welcome. Montoot Studio, you messaged me on Instagram actually recently. I'm really sorry. I will reply to that. There's a reason I didn't reply. I will be in touch. Sorry about that. Just you popping up just reminded me of that. This is week 7. This is week 6. This is episode 7 of CRUMCAST, but week 6. Because obviously we had the very first trial episode back in June, which was a massive success, and I really appreciate everybody showing up for that. So if you're here now, this is the drill. Housekeeping as always, okay? This is a monetized stream. You might get hit up with an ad roll at a certain point, but the ad streaming is at a minimum. So it should be the fewest amount of ads you might get on the stream if you're not a YouTube premium member. As always, I ask for nothing but your participation in the chat for doing these streams. I love doing them, but I can't keep the ball rolling if we don't get the chat going. So I already see there's some questions in here. That's fantastic. Brilliant. I will slowly get to them all in a minute. And as always, just do me a favor. If you enjoy these streams, if you've been showing up, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, subscribe to the channel, because as a few of the comments here have already mentioned, there's a new series coming, and your subscription to the channel, your support helps me make the videos. I mean, it's complicated, but it's not more complicated than that. So if you really like this, just hit the sub, smash the like button, leave a comment. It is fantastic for me, really helpful to what I'm trying to do here on this channel. So I love it, and I love talking to you people on here on Thursday nights. So I don't think I've missed anything other than if you're new here, welcome. Introduce yourself in the chat if you'd like. Get a question in. And if you're also new here, I try to do this stream for about 1 hour. So it's 8 o'clock my time. So I'm going to try and do this till about 9 o'clock. But sometimes the chat gets really good, really spicy. People come in, they get some trolls. They really set me off. They get me really emotional and really passionate about certain topics. Some of you get incredibly emotional and passionate in the comments, and that turns into another whole conversation, and the ball just keeps rolling, and we're just all here in this big, intense architectural online soup, and it's fantastic because I love soup. So it's great. So without further ado, let's get into it, okay? So CRUMCAST episode 7, we are live, and to get to the very first comment of the night, Zed, let's go. We are going. This is it, people. Okay. So Zed, thanks for letting me know where you're from. Wasn't too sure there. I know that I've had some people on this stream from India before, but I just wanted to double check because I know a lot of you are getting to know me through these streams and through my content, but beyond your usernames, I'm not quite fully getting to know a lot of you. And I know there's a lot of you come back every week, and I really appreciate that. 11 in the chat now. Fantastic. So get your questions in and introduce yourself, people. So let's go. So Zed, you had a question. Well, first, you were letting me know that you've got 5 assignments due for tomorrow, and you're not planning to submit drafting and stuff. Why are you not planning to submit? Is it because is this a protest? If it's a protest, I support it. But do let me know. What's up? Why are you not submitting? Other than the fact that that's an incredibly intense deadline. But Zed has a question. When will the competition winners be announced, or have they been already? So, apologies. I did explain this last week as well. The competition winner has already been selected, but not announced. The final episode of the Future Blueprint review series will be live on Monday. And that's a special episode with three very esteemed guests who we've managed to get on as guest judges. So we have the architect, Jason Boyle, who runs the Broke Architect podcast, which I have given a shout out to previously. And these judges were selected a while ago. So we had those judges brought on, I can't remember when, booked in maybe 6 weeks ago. So Jason Boyle, Broke Architect podcast, just putting that in the chat there. I know a lot of you guys are students, but he often has students on there speaking about the architecture industry. And Jason's a really good guy. Jason had myself and Rebecca on as the Future Blueprint June, and we spoke with him for like 2 hours. It was a really good chat. We had Jason Boyle on. We had Professor Greg I was going to say Beef. Professor Greg Keefe from Queen's University. Anybody who's ever studied in Belfast or Ireland or in the UK for that matter would be very familiar with Greg. I mean, Greg's pretty international basically in his presence. He teaches everywhere. But we had Greg on, and we also had one of our good friends / architecture influencers on board. We had, and she's going to kill me now, not that she joins these chats, but I don't want to say her name wrong, so I'm just going to get this ready. We had the fantastic, I'm going to put her name into the chat here. We had the fantastic Maria Ulashenko. So I'm just going to put that one in there if you guys aren't following Maria as a judge. So we had a student judge as well. So that was great. So I'm just going to put that in here. She's probably going to correct me for spelling that wrong. But Maria's great. So we had 3 really good guests on judging it. And then obviously Rebecca and myself hosted the special episode. So that episode will be available on Monday, and it's already been edited. So it's going to go out. And in that episode, we will announce who the winner is. So do tune in for that. But we do want to say we really are shocked. Like, we really are shocked at how many people entered. To the point where part of me feels a little bit bad, because we obviously designed this competition as a protest of sort, almost as a reaction to the terrible state of architecture competitions right now in 2025 and the ways in which they exploit the free labor of young people. And to have 62 people engage is fantastic from a metric point of view. Like, for us, we're very happy about it. But also, and I know this sounds incredibly sentimental, we can't reward 62 of you. You know, we only had one prize, which is why our hope was that the review in itself of your individual project would be some form of feedback and thank you, and that we would spend the time and we would put it onto the channel, and we did our best to be as, critical but as helpful as possible for each of them. Because here's the thing, right? There was 1 or 2 maybe troll submissions, which we encouraged. We encouraged that. It was the sort of spirit of the competition in a way, and that it was a bit of a protest. But we were really overwhelmed by how the level of sincerity in which so many of you actually engaged with the competition. So let me know, chat, actually, would you be interested in another competition? Rebecca and I have obviously had a number of debriefs about it now. We don't know if we got what we needed from it, from our point of view, from a content creation point of view, but we would be lying if we didn't say we didn't enjoy the entire process. So it's something to think about, I guess. But maybe we'll wait and see until the final episode comes out. But the fact that we were able to get 3 great judges on as well to engage with it, and that was a really fun episode. I would argue that it was probably the best episode that we did. Not because like Rebecca and I can't make great episodes. Of course we can. It's more that like the dynamic though of having the judges. And it was funny because Rebecca and I were supposed to be hosting it, but then I just kept jumping in like a host because I just can't help it. I just say what I think. So it was sort of like, oh, Judge A, what do you think? Judge B, what do you think? And then I would jump in and say, well, this is what I think. And it's like, Kel, you've already had your turn. You've already talked about these. But it's like, I don't know. Maybe some people might look at that as me trying to influence the judging. But what I do, I'm not going to get caught up in a tongue twister about how we actually scored the final entries. Rebecca and I will explain that in the final episode. But We the assessment was based entirely as fairly and as sort of democratic as we could make it. 1 second, just checking a notification here. Welcome, people. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I don't know. Was that an answer to your question, Zed? When will the competition winners be announced? Monday. And just to be more precise, Monday, the 10th of November. Monday, the 10th of November. And I haven't seen that final edit yet, so I'm not sure how we actually make the announcement, but that's fun. That'll be good. So, how have we got here? We've got a couple of hellos. User HW1. Any plans on doing more competition reviews like you did for Helsinki Museum? Chat, this is your chance, okay? Because this is the kind of feedback and input that I need. Any of you who follow this channel will know that I launched the Guggenheim. I put out the Guggenheim review this week. There aren't any competitions out there that are as freakishly obscene as that Helsinki one was. And I hope a lot of you understand that. Like, that's not normal to get 623 entries for a competition, right? So that was a great gateway for me to get onto YouTube and offer architectural review content. But the only other way I could probably repeat or replicate that challenge without a competition like that existing is to do what I'm trying to do now, which is I'm going to just try and review every building. And I know a lot of you are already engaging with that Guggenheim video. But you'll see that there are like many tight, well edited, critical, but hopefully educational reviews of classic architecture buildings. So if anyone here follows me on Instagram, you'll see that I've already put polls up this week about the next one. And the winner of that poll was the Sagrada Familia. So I'm going to do that next. But the idea is, can you teach? Can you review? Can you teach through entertaining criticism? Is the sort of challenge that I've set myself. Now, I'm answering this question on behalf of the chat. I would argue that the most consistent piece of feedback I got from the Helsinki series was that I was somehow teaching through that review period, that review process. Like, people found the reviews entertaining, but also found them educational, which is not what I actually expected when I made it. Like, I didn't make this YouTube channel as a form of trying to teach people about architecture. It was more designed series for me to just sort of, like architecture reviews and analysis for me is like Sudoku or Scrabble or crossword puzzles for some people. It's like brain training. Like, I love it. The idea of like, boom, live, 5 images. What do I think? Go, 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 go. And it is perfectly okay to not know if it's good or not. It's really just, what is my reading of it? How do I read and interpret this design proposal? So obviously that's trickier to do with buildings that are absolutely famous, like the Guggenheim. But the challenge is to sort of underproduce them. So to answer your question, user HW1, um, if a competition like Helsinki comes about again, absolutely I'll be all over it. I'll be the guy. Like, that'll be me. But they don't come along that often, and I love making YouTube videos. So I gotta get the videos out, and I think the reviews of every building will be, how do you say it, evergreen content for students and architects. So do let me know in the chat though if you've been interested in that new series that I've just kicked off. Sagrada Familia is coming tomorrow. So that'll be 2 in a week. And I'm hoping I can just get these 2 videos out every week. Anyone on here does anyone on here, how do you say this? So when I was a student, there was a series that used to be on YouTube, right? And it didn't have a formal name, but it taught me about buildings. And it was called like One of 20. It was called like, hold on, let me see if I'll check it out on the channel here if it still exists. Not my channel, but someone else's. And it was like, here are 20 of the greatest buildings built in the last 100 years. And here is a beautiful, well edited 20-minute episode about it. They did Falling Water. They had, I think they had Exeter Library. But they were amazing, right? So just imagine your typical building architectural review documentary. It's like birds, music, really chill woman's voice, classical music. And it was just beautiful cinematography and just this woman explaining what the building was, and then they would often intersect real footage in photography with drawings and sketches. And it was like these little mini master classes, like 20 minutes, and it was like everything an architecture student would need to know about this building. Does anyone in the chat know this series? I don't even know if it's still available. But see, when I was a student, I obsessed over it, right? So I used to try and gamify architecture school by just be the guy who knows the references. Just be the guy. Does anyone in here do that with their hobbies? Like, obviously, like I've chatted to people in this chat before. I'm a football fan. I'm not interested in talking about football with you wonderful people tonight. I'm not bothered about talking about football, but I'm a football fan. Um, and the way in which I enjoy football is by knowing who scored what goal, at what date, at what stadium, in what season, wearing what kit. Is anyone else like that? Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's like you love being a nerd about the things that you're passionate about. Oh, so I know that that player scored that goal playing for that team. They cost X amount in the transfer market. They say, you know, when you build up this strange encyclopedia understanding of a thing. Well, my whole life I've been like that, right? So I did that with football when I was a kid. Like that's how I engaged with football, and I did it with film because I'm a big film nerd as well. Everyone's a film nerd, and I did it with video games. And then when I was an adult or an architecture student, I did it with architecture. So what I'm basically getting at is, I would like to make my own version of that series. And the idea, the name of the game is make it as short and sweet as possible. So the Guggenheim Museum, and at least I know that Dan, because Dan commented on it, and I'll get to your comment, Dan. The Guggenheim Review, in my opinion, is the sweet spot for a bite-size, entertaining, educational review of a famous piece of architecture that you should know. Because I know people are talking about the score and they don't agree with the score, and we'll get into the score. That's fine. But in my opinion, that's the content I wish existed when I was a student. As much as the 20-minute reviews are all there of famous buildings, the 3-hour reviews are still there. The books are still there. And the buildings are still there if you really want to get nerdy and go visit the building. But I want to deliver that form of content. Now, I think that's what I want the channel to be. So the idea, the task, the challenge is that I will review every building ever, which is absurd. But the 623 review series for Helsinki was also absurd. And I think people sort of enjoy that. So do let me know, chat, if you've got anything though that you would really love me to review. And remember, okay, because at the end of the day, yes, I'm an architect, but I'm also a content creator. I love niche, weird buildings, okay? I love that stuff, but it's not algorithm friendly and it doesn't help students generally. So when I'm making this review series, I'm talking about the big hitters, okay? The big hitters. Okay, what are the buildings? And that's why I thought in my lifetime, the Guggenheim was my first exposure to modern architecture. And I thought, what there's no better, but there's no better building to feature for the first episode. If you haven't seen that episode, check it out. You could literally check it out now by the time it takes me to finish a single sentence because it's so quick. It's only 2 minutes long. So just check it out and let me know what you think of the score because that's the fun part. I'm going to score each of them and that's going to make people really mad. But the Guggenheim is a masterpiece, probably, but I still gave it a 6 out of 10 because that's what I think. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. And the reason I gave it such a low, controversial, middling score is because architecture is an incredibly depth and complex subject, and I think it would be incredibly reductive and stupid to distill it down into just a number out of 10. That's ridiculous. In the same way that I think grades for students are fundamentally ridiculous. Um, but the grade's funny. The score's funny to me. It's entertainment to me. And I only make the content on this channel that I enjoy. So, user, that's a big long-winded way of me letting everyone here know what's going on with the channel and what the plan is. But do let me know what you all think about that. Because if it's a terrible idea, I will listen to you. I will listen to you. Shout out to my architectural assistant there in the background who just came by wearing a face mask, stealing my popcorn. Okay, so that's what's going on. So let's see what we have on next here. Samuel, good evening, good evening. Oh, I'm really happy too. People are joining the live stream for the first time because I know some of you do watch the previous episodes. That's great. So let's get into the next question. Trent Allen says hello. JD says, how often do you do these? Every Thursday night, like clockwork. I've been incredibly consistent. So every 6 weeks now, 6 weeks in a row, I've been here 8 o'clock my time. But I always I always put the room is up on the channel at around lunchtime, and then I open the room like 15 minutes early, and some of you join early, which is great. Just checking this notification here. One second, 1 second. Okay. Okay, great. So, next question. We had a question here from Trent, I believe. Best software for architecture page presentations. Okay. When I was a student, it was InDesign. InDesign, that was it. InDesign was the daddy for making architecture presentations. Um, However, well, actually, I'll get to it. 18 now in the chat. Welcome, people. Welcome, welcome. Do introduce yourself. Get your questions in. I'm answering Trent's question here. Then I went to practice, and I worked in practice after graduating for 5 or 6 years. And in that time, I worked in 3 practices. InDesign, InDesign, InDesign. Everything was InDesign. And then I worked for myself, and every presentation was InDesign. However, the times are changing a bit, chat. So do let me know here. Is Canva coming for Adobe? What do we think? They just launched Affinity this week, and from what I understand, it's free, which means it's cheaper than Adobe. So if you have access to an Adobe license, Trent, InDesign is fantastic for architecture presentations. If you don't, I have a feeling there's some now free alternatives out there. And I think Canva is trying to make itself the new daddy for architects and presentation. But do let me know in the chat, people, because I haven't tried their presentation suite yet. But for me, InDesign was great. I haven't used it in a little while now, though, even though I do somehow still have an Adobe license. But that's just me. So, chat, can you help Trent out there? Best software for architecture page presentations. I'm old school. I'll still say InDesign. Professionally, that's probably still the standard. So if you're looking for a job, Trent, like it's crazy, right? If you guys are in uni and you're looking for a job, like I said, I am a little bit out of touch now with the job scene. Like I'm a little bit older. I've reached uncle status now. But InDesign on your or on your CV was gold to a lot of practices. And then obviously the best way of proving that you can use InDesign is to have a beautifully well-made portfolio and CV produced in InDesign. See? So it's one of those easy wins you could get in a job interview or to get a job interview, in my experience. Whoa. Chat's going here. Sorry, I'm taking a long time tonight. We're already at 8:30. So Trent, I hope that helps. And chat, help Trent out. Dan, hey chat, we are back. We are back. Yeah, Dan, I enjoyed your comment about the ziggurat reference. The thing about the Guggenheim is that, that's the way it was always sort of described to me, even when I was a little architecture baby, was about that inversion of the ziggurat, which is kind of cool. So I want to get that in there. That's the kind of gold that I'm making. Guys, my mouse just broke, so I'm here, but I might have to plug the mouse in for a second. Actually, I don't know. Oh no, it's back. Sorry about that. Montour Studio. Hi, welcome. Love seeing the same people coming back. It's fantastic. Ilian, hey Cal, and hello chat. Hi Ilian, welcome. Hope life's good in Portugal. Dan Ostrowski, traveling to Italy next week. Something unmissable in Rome and Tuscany. Never been to Tuscany, have been to Rome. Dan, sorry, apologies, because this can come across as so condescending. Have you been to Rome before? Is it the first time going to Rome? Because I've only ever been to Rome once, and the only things I made sure I saw was the classics. So Pantheon, Colosseum. Tried to make it to Maxi, didn't make it to Maxi. Good reason to go back by Zaha. What else did I see? The Forum. I mean, really, it's so funny. If you're going to Rome for the first time as an architect, you really don't even need to make a to-do list. Like, of course, architects like to make their own to-do list of things that they need to see and stuff, but like, just the classics will take care of you. Like, just go see the things you can't miss. You know, the real the classic architecture. But I'm trying to think, did I see anything really modern when I was there that stood out? Not that comes to mind. Maybe my mind will go get into it a little bit. Anyone in chat got any recommendations for Dan, who's going to Rome and Tuscany? other than the Pantheon. Already said it. Do see the Pantheon, do see the Forum, do see the Colosseum. Like, just incredible. Um, Probably underwhelming though for a lot of people. Like a lot of people get that thing where it's like they've seen these images of these amazing, great buildings their entire life, and then they go and they're like, "Meh, thought it would be bigger." That's what happened to me with the Guggenheim. Funny enough. Anyway, Alexander says, "I have studio mates who make designs that are very Zaha. When I ask why, they often don't have a reason other than that they like it. Do you think every aspect of design needs reasoning?" It's really funny, Alexander. That's a great comment. Rebecca and I had like a 1 hour conversation about that today. And we recorded it and we're going to get it out for you wonderful people soon, which is probably a good chance for me to plug the future blueprint, which is going to be a really exciting place to be for architects soon. I can't say much more about that than now, but we are building something, so that's exciting. But Alexander, back to your question, we were talking about Zaha actually. So according to Rebecca, and do sound off in the chat here, her understanding of parametricism is that these structures are designed within an inch of themselves. In other words, the form of the building itself, as you see it, is the most efficient way for that type of building to exist formally. Now, I disagree. In my opinion, I think that's a load of shit because I think it's just architects who want to make what they want to make. Now, I personally believe an architect should always be allowed to make what an architect should always be allowed to make what they want to make as long as they're satisfying the needs of the client. Okay. Now, a practice like Zaha Hadid Architects clearly do that because they made an entirely successful business out of delivering that style of architecture. But I would warn students not to flirt too heavily with it unless they only want to work for Zaha Hadid Architects, which is a very tough practice to get into because in my head, the way I understand it is that as cool as those structures are, and they are marvelous, the really good ones are, in my opinion. They're feats of engineering and architectural brilliance in a lot of aspects. But in my opinion, there are easier ways to make a building. So they are an indulgence in a way. And I would challenge any student who brought me a project like that to really interrogate why they did what they did. Now, at the same time, I'm a massive advocate for you don't have to tell me anything. If you like it, then you like it. If that's how you work, then that's how you work. But there are consequences to that way of working, which I describe as having your head in the sand. I've been guilty of it. Like, oh well, I like what I like, so that's what I'm gonna do. And then it's like, well, then you're not getting the job at this. You're not. I'd say that in an interview, and it's like, well, you can't work here, and it's like that's okay, but like, that's you pay a price for it. The only people who can really get away with that kind of attitude are like the geniuses. And in my opinion, I don't think an architectural genius can reveal itself in uni. That's one for the chat. What do you think? Like, did you guys anyone who's like now left architecture school, like the guy who was probably the best or the girl who was the best in your class, probably didn't even really go on to work in architecture? Maybe that's just my experience. I don't know. I I studied with some brilliant students who are like have their own practices now and they're doing amazing. So obviously like that's not always the trend. It's just more of it's a take really, I guess. So do you think every aspect of design needs reasoning? No. Not really, Alexander. I don't think so. I mean, my favorite architect is Peter Salter. And I would argue that there's obviously an incredible level of design intellect in his work. But also, why is the door pink? Because I like pink doors. Like, who cares? Like, who cares? It's a balancing act, I think, Alexander. The things that really matter, you better know why you're doing them. But at the end of the day, you want to add a little artistic flourish, go for it. Um, so yeah, that's what I think. What do you think, chat? Ilian, I had a review with Greg last year where I was designing a cookery school, and he spent most of the time speaking about his love for fresh bread. It was fun. I'm going to say two things there, Ilian. What you just described sounds like the typical architecture crit experience. But also, Greg actually taught me and Rebecca. So we love Greg. We've known Greg for a long time. Greg's one of my favorite professors that I've ever met. Probably one of the best educators that I've ever met as well. And what makes him so great is that he says what he thinks, and that's incredibly valuable to have as a tutor. Um, so yeah, do tune in for that episode on Monday because yeah, we have a bit of fun talking about back in the day when he taught me and Rebecca. Laura Oliviera 5109. Hello there. Just joined the channel as an admirer. I'm from Brazil and got to know the channel, and I'm absolutely in love. I'd love to see more analysis about other competitions specifically because we can learn something new from all projects. I'd love to evolve myself on the level of this competition, guys. Anyways, love from Rio de Janeiro here. Laura, welcome to the chat. Thank you very much for your kind message. Very much appreciated. I'm not sure if you caught the conversation earlier that I was having with, I think it was user M1, just about like the competition has to be worth discussing. Do you know what I mean? Like, there aren't many open competitions like Helsinki. Like, that was such a rare thing. And it's the thing about competitions is that you can only really engage with them at an arm's length, and that you know, they're not built, they're not real, they haven't been you're really just looking at images and presentation. And I'd say this, right, chat, maybe you don't agree. Let's say another competition came about now. Let's say Manhattan, New York. We've launched a competition for a new skyscraper on Fifth Avenue, open competition to everyone. And let's say they get 1,000 entries. Now, a skyscraper on Fifth Avenue is obviously not the same as an art and architecture museum in Helsinki. But at what point am I going to just be saying the same things? Because a lot of the skill that it takes to win a competition over here can be applied over there. Like, that's the skill of an architect, right? We're generalists. Maybe some of you don't agree. But like that's what I'm getting at, is that like if I only reviewed competitions and you followed my content, I'd only ever end up saying the same stuff. I'm amazed I was able to talk about 623 projects. I mean, any of you who actually watched that series episode to episode, come on, guys, I lost my mind. They were all starting to look the same. They were all, by the end, right? They were all being, because this would make for a funny episode, actually. You could break them all into 5 types of projects, I would say. There were the sincere entries, the ones that were trying to win it and trying to make a good piece of civic architecture. There were the ones who went for the crazy, ridiculous, over the top. There were the ones who just weren't, who were only interested in making images. There were the ones who used AI slop to generate their design. And then there were the ones who were just like incapable of designing anything good. And it was the same trend over 623. So all I'm saying is I'm not against it, but until you find a competition for me, chat, I'm just gonna do every building. Okay. I think that's better because there's much more to talk about to an extent. And it's more challenging for me. It's more refreshing for me to talk about buildings that exist and ones that I've been to. Because at the end of the day, the competitions become CGI contests. And it's sad, but that is how I see it. Dan says, yeah, here in Brazil, there's some good public competitions, but I don't know if they're easily to access for this kind of exercise. And of course, there's the language barrier. There is the language barrier, but at the end of the day, I mean, sorry, Dan, I'm only saying this half sincerely. I mean, like, the language of architecture is drawings and images, right? So anyone who did watch Helsinki knows that I didn't even really read the text that much. Because you shouldn't need to be telling me about what the project is. I should be seeing it, in my opinion. I mean, they're just my standards. But I'm the guy who rated the Guggenheim Museum 6 out of 10. So what do I know? Maybe I just have ridiculously high standards. Maybe I should hold myself to those high standards. Maybe if I did that, I'd be a really successful architect. Who knows? Um, Samuel says, I would love to see a review of the new Foster 270 Park venue. Is that the bank, the one for Bloomberg? Is it Bloomberg? Or is it who's the bank? It's a bank, isn't it? I'm pretty sure it's a bank. I know it opened recently. Um Samuel, is it worth reviewing? In all seriousness, like Fosters don't make bad buildings. They just don't. Um that doesn't mean every building they make is great, but they don't make bad buildings. I'm sort of more interested in quirky buildings, funny buildings, buildings that have a sense of humor. I don't know. I don't know. Foster 270, maybe. It's hard for me to talk about a project that's a bank without getting too political about it. Um, who have we got here? Xeris, welcome. Hey, do you think Polytecno di Milano in De Torino is a good uni for ARC? I don't know personally. I know it has a very good reputation. But the Polytechnic Milano, I just gave the name of an architecture student there in the chat who's judging the competition next week. She's there now, Maria. So if you can find that name, I mean, that's someone you should DM. Like she could tell you firsthand. I'm pretty certain she's studying there now. Sorry, I only ever studied in Queen's University Belfast twice, and then London, Westminster. So that's my background for education. I've never studied anywhere else, but I only know that it has a very good reputation. So that's all I can say, I'm afraid. Anyone in chat, can you help out with that one maybe? Montoot Studio, I teach a thesis class and I gave the class a couple of your Helsinki reviews as required viewing. Thank you very much. That's the thing. It's tough, right? Because I started on YouTube a year ago. And I started making videos just over a year ago. But anyone who knows me knows that this is how I am. It's just how I am. Like, I love talking about stuff, architecture, but I didn't think that series was going to actually be useful to anyone other than me. Just recorded myself doing it. So the fact that you're sharing it with students as required viewing, I massively appreciate. So thank you very much. It's great to hear. As absurd as some of those reviews are, but I wanted it to be fun because I think architecture should be fun. Like it should be. Architecture is very serious, and it should be very serious. It's a very serious profession, but that doesn't mean like we have to be so serious about it. I mean, we can have fun talking about it. We can compare things to things. We can make it a bit of make it a bit lighthearted. We can make it entertaining for people. There's other ways of teaching, I guess, which is what I've learned in the last year, but much appreciated. Thank you for showing the videos to the students. That's great. Oh, lost track of the chat here. Dan, unfortunately, never heard about this series. I would love it. It must be the 1 out of 20 I'm talking about. I'll try and find a link for it. I will. Haydar, welcome back. You guys are chatting about Rome. Fantastic. Good. Love it when you all talk together. Good. I love seeing a chat go in there. User HW question: UCL Bartlett versus AA for grad school. Never studied it either. Obviously, worked in London for years. Know lots of graduates from both. Know lots of students who are there now. This is based on nothing. User HW1. Okay, if you had to ask me now, could you go back and you can only study at one, Bartlett or AA? I'd probably pick AA, but that's not based on anything. It's not based on experience. Obviously, I would attend the end of year shows at both schools because I enjoyed seeing the student work at the end of every year, and there was some great parties. But there's something very romantic and charming about the AA, in my opinion. The amount of prolific architects who've kind of been through those doors as students and teachers, there's a charm to the AA that the Bartlett, despite its fantastic reputation, in my opinion, is sort of lost now that it's been sort of centralized into a new campus. Whereas from how I understand it, the AA is still in that Georgian Terrace, right? In where is it by? London Geometry's Russell Square. It's not far from there. So there's a little bit more romance to the AA, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean it's a better school. I have no idea. Can anyone in chat help user HW out here? Know lots of people who went to both. Um, Everyone is very loyal to the school they studied in. I understand that to a certain extent. Dan says, yeah, Canva or Miro. Yeah, so there are some new software packages out there as an alternative to Adobe to Adobe. I see someone shouting about Figma there. Fantastic. Yeah, Illustrator, Photoshop. Yeah, I mean Adobe is still good. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to muscle memory and speed, right? Like what are you good with when you need to put something together? But yeah, whole new world out there now. If there's competitors for Adobe for the first time in my lifetime, then I'm all here for it. Did I miss something? Dan and Haydara are chatting about Rome, which is great. Laura Oliveira, you have some favorite architecture templates for InDesign to suggest? Doing my final project now, and I'd love to have good suggestions. Um, I can't speak for anyone else, right? I used to love making my own template personally. That might not be very helpful. Um, but I mean, you can buy digital templates on stores and stuff for these things, you know, like they exist. But I always enjoyed the act of making my own one. I liked my own portfolio and my own stuff to look my own way. And my style was pretty minimal and basic. I never had borders. My font would be Helvetica, and that was it. And I mean, sorry, but I mean, a lot of you guys are here through Helsinki. I would just like to let my work do the speaking. That was it. No need for a lot of text, nothing fancy, very simple. My stuff was very minimal. It was just work front and center. That was it. But there are templates available. Laura, I just none come to mind right now. Maybe someone in the chat knows. A lot of you guys are still chatting about Figma, InDesign. Love it. Love it. Do let me know what you think. Dan's talking about 2 wineries in Tuscany. I've never been to Tuscany, but I will go someday, I guess. I like wine, and I like Italy, and I like Italian food, so why not? Um, Montood Studio. I kicked Adobe to the curb 4 years ago. Affinity is now free and covers 90% of your needs. You do need to know InDesign Adobe Suite on your resume. Save your money. Montood, are you saying students they do need to know it? Because I think that they do. Um, I think that if you can use Canva, a free like Affinity, if you can use a free alternative now, if you don't have a license, great. Um, but you go into practice. I mean, I was talking to someone on Instagram about this today. I made a joke comment about how the most talented architecture student you've ever met is probably in an office somewhere right now, spending their days making InDesign documents, which is depressing but true. That's how you get a gig, you know. How fast can you spin a document for a presentation? How fast can you manage boards? How fast can you manage a presentation? It's a different conversation in a way, really. I'm happy to have it, but like I did my days doing that too. Um, like before you even get on a building, you're sitting formatting JPEGs and links and PNGs and PDFs and fixing typing errors and stuff. But I do, if what you're saying, Montood Studio, is that students do need to know that, I agree. I think you could apply to work in an office, right, with like a CV full of hand drawn sketches, but also have InDesign on your skills, and you probably get an interview because it is valuable. It's a valuable skill, but you don't want to be doing InDesign for too long in practice. But it's a good way to get in the door, in my experience. Um, the alto vases. The alto vases are a genre in their own for that Helsinki competition, no doubt about it. So stupid. Having said that, I think one of my personal top 5 projects heavily referenced the vase. So they weren't all bad, but some of them were pretty bad. Let me see what I'm looking at here. Laura says I probably caught the chat kind of late. You've got podcasts for arc contexts. I loved your perspectives and commenting on the videos. I'd love to keep discovering different types of arc topics. Laura, I hate doing this, but you might be able to see the live chat from last week's episode if you find it. Because we had a conversation about podcasts that we recommend to students. I've already dropped one into the chat tonight, so I recommend the Broke Architect podcast. Although that podcast is great, but I think it's a bit more directed towards young middle stage professionals, not so much students. For example, the topics are rarely building specific, but check out the Future Blueprint. I've already dropped it in here. It's Rebecca and I. Rebecca is my colleague. She teaches architecture at UCD Dublin. Dr. Rebecca Jane McConnell. Um, the both of us have our own show. It's a podcast. We haven't regularly been delivering episodes recently because we've been doing the competitions that we launched ourselves. But do check out the Future Blueprint. We have our own YouTube channel and everything. You can find it right now and subscribe. Because all we do is talk about buildings on that, and we try to make it as fun and as entertaining as possible. So do check that out. Okay, Dan, sorry, you just said that for me. Dan, really appreciate it. Thank you. Laura says, some of my teachers can't separate architecture from politics, but I see it as a side of it, not a full pack. Sometimes political side blocks our creation process and urban analysis. What's your opinion? Architecture is politics. How is it not? Everything is political. It just is. I'm not saying, I'm not saying I'm not saying every piece of architecture is either pro Donald Trump or anti Donald Trump. I don't mean it that literally. I just mean the process the process in which a building is developed, designed, constructed, and delivered to a client exists within a political system. Architecture is political. It's a conversation within itself. If you're suggesting, Laura, that architecture has, how do you say this? I don't even know how to necessarily say what I'm trying to say. Architecture, in my experience, is a heavily left-leaning profession. Architecture schools are also left-leaning. Um, I don't really have a critical thing to say about that. It's just the reality of it. I don't know if anyone else here has had a different experience of it, but my content is political. It might not be abrasively political on the surface, but there are political aspects to the reels in which I make, the TikToks that I make, the angles in which I critique buildings are all political. Even if I'm not here telling people how to vote, I don't care who you vote for. I will never care who you vote for. Because that's not my I'm not interested in that. I don't really care. But I do think architecture is a heavily political subject. Um, I'm just trying to see what you said here in the chat. Um, Sometimes political side blocks our creation process and urban analysis. Um, I don't know. I mean, I think your own personal politics informs the kind of designer that you are. Would you not agree? I mean, no, okay, not everyone sits down and designs the same way. Okay, but we've had this conversation on this show before. I sit down with a pencil or an Apple pencil on an iPad and start scribbling, right? But if I've been hired to design a residential project, I'm going to be thinking about the proportion of that project that goes to why is my brain not working tonight? The distribution between private and public ownership of those houses. Like that's just where my head goes. I remember working on a housing project once. Okay, so actually this is a bit of lore here. Okay, this is a bit of lore. Um, I worked for a practice that specialized in residential architecture for a couple of years, and they're a great practice. I love them. And I basically had the housing standards for affordable living units. I had the housing standards down in my head. I knew how to design apartments that were in that category. So basically for affordable homes, not luxury homes, affordable homes. And then I went and moved to a different practice, and our client was like a luxury developer. And I was designing the apartment at like 45 square meters because I knew that 45 square meters was like at the time the London standard for a one bedroom apartment. It was like the minimum that you could build. So I did it to like 45 square meters. And my boss was like, yeah, you got to triple that. And I was like, why would I triple that? And he was like, yeah, like that apartment's too small. I was like, but that apartment's enough. And they're like, look, this apartment needs to be bigger. And we ended up designing the apartment to like 150 square meters, which is huge. And I was like, right then, so we'll fill in the space with bedrooms then, right? So we'll make it instead of a one bedroom apartment, we'll make it like a 3 or 4 bedroom apartment. And he was like, no. I was like, okay. And he's like, we'll make it a one bedroom apartment, but no, it's 150 square meters. I was like, what am I supposed to do with all this dead space? And he was like, that's not my problem. The client will probably put a piano in it or something. And I was like, right then, I'm like, this isn't the kind of architecture I want to make because that just doesn't sit well with me politically. It has nothing to do with who I vote for. In my opinion, that's a waste. It's a waste of development. It's a waste of space. It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of design time. It's a waste of everything. But I don't have the power in that situation to say no. So I have to do my job. Okay. So there's a political tension in the ways in which we practice as architects. And I had to balance that conflict every single day when I worked as an architect. And I find that massively challenging. So Laura, I'm sorry, I'm really going off on one on this, but that's what I mean when I say architecture is political. It has nothing to do with who you vote for. It doesn't really matter. Like, I mean, vote, absolutely vote. What I'm saying is that like your decisions are political in nature. Your instincts, your design sensibility is political. It's formed by the world and the society in which you were educated and lived in and practiced in. So yeah, something to think about because I don't think it's something that gets in the way. I think it's actually something that propels design. Um, but I hope that's helpful. So I hope you're engaging with that chat and you have your own thoughts on it. Have I skipped something here? Zed, the answer is no. I have not. I have not, but I will. I promise I will. How about this? For next week, I'll tell you a thing or two about Christopher Alexander. That's my promise to you. Sorry, gonna need some water. Oh, how are we doing, people? Going almost an hour now. Really having fun. 15 in the chat. Do say hello. Yeah, Zed, I will check out Christopher Alexander. Okay, I will check it out. Where are we now? Sorry if I missed something here. Uza says you should start a series doing student project reviews. I have had a version of this question every week, and it's a really tricky one to deal with because, well, Rebecca and I, the future blueprints, are working on this, sort of. But at what point, Uza, am I doing that so often that I should just teach at a university? Because as much as I love doing stuff like this, I could spend an hour talking about a student project, you know? So, like, then it comes down to, right, how do I make that valuable then for my time? It's like, right, we ain't gotta charge the student then. That's not really fair, is it? Like, it is fair, obviously. Look, guys, I know architecture students have money. We're all poor, but I'm just saying that doesn't feel like a sustainable model for the student or for me. So maybe the future blueprint are working on something because we know that you want reviews. Like, we know that. We know that students want more reviews. So we're trying to fix that problem. We are trying to fix it. But I don't think the answer is me reviewing student projects on YouTube. I say this all the time, but there are people on Instagram right now who are doing it in like a vertical format. They're smashing it. And but it takes up a lot of time because students deserve time. Student projects are way richer than real ones in a lot of ways. I know that doesn't really answer your question, but I do talk about this every week. Um, Absurdoism says, "What is not politic at this point?" Yeah, but I mean, like, I apologies if I'm like reading into the tone of your message, but it's like everything is political and everything always has been political. Like, this isn't new, in my opinion. Do you like Star Wars? Star Wars is political. Do you play video games? Video games are political. Like McDonald's, you want to go for a Happy Meal, get a cheeseburger? That's a political choice. Everything's political. Like, I don't know. Is that an unfair thing to say, people? Is that too general? I mean, look, I love nothing more than just zoning out. I love playing video games, right? I love just putting on Animal Crossing, messing around for 30 minutes at the end of the day. Love it. Like, love doing it. Animal Crossing has an economy. That economy is political, okay? You're in debt. You start that game in debt. That is a political game. That game has a political spine through it. Now, what I'm getting at here is define political. Like I say, I'm using this all the time as an example. Political does not mean Donald Trump. It does not mean vote left, vote right. Everything is political, okay? Everything has an inherent political nature. Oh, good. Okay, yeah, no, I agree. It's okay. Like, and I will never lecture you. I don't want to be that type of content creator. I know that my content does edge pretty hard towards the left. Obviously it does. Like, I'm left leaning politically, massively so. But that's just what I believe. And when people disagree, I have no problem with it either. Um but I don't know. I've long accepted that everything has a political aspect to it. Sometimes it's nice to just not have to think about things, but if you're like me, if you're an architect, you're always going to be thinking about things. I just think it's an interesting topic, architecture and politics. But I don't know. The worst mistake I've ever made as an adult, was to turn my head away from politics. Oh, it doesn't matter. Your vote doesn't matter. Nothing makes a difference. No, come on, people. It does. It makes a massive difference. Um, I once had a professor, right? He was great, really good professor. Um, and he really called me out once in a desk tutorial. He was just making small talk at the end of the review, and he was like, I said to him something like, "When's your train home?" And he says, "I'm gonna get like the 6 o'clock train, but I've got to go vote first. There was an election happening in Ireland." And I laughed at him. I was like, "What are you voting for, you loser? Why are you voting?" And let's say at the time I was 22. So let's say maybe he might have been my age at the time, 30, in his 30s. I was like, "What are you voting for, you loser? That's so boring." And he was like, "What do you mean?" And I said, like, "Voting doesn't make a difference." And he was like, "You should vote, right? Because if you don't," he's all, "people like you won't vote." He says, "But your parents will." And that really stuck with me. He's like, "The older generation, they do vote. And if you don't vote, then they'll vote for you. So vote. It costs you nothing. Even if you don't even believe in what you're voting for, use your vote." So, sorry, going very hard on that one. I think it's important for young people and young architects to be politically engaged. In fact, it's essential. And I say that holding my hand up because I put my head in the sand when I was 21 and 22. And you want to know what happened? Do you want to know what happened when I graduated? Brexit. Because we didn't vote. So that's all I'm saying. Voting is important, especially if you're an architect, because the political system within which you are practicing determines whether or not you're going to be made redundant or not. It affects the economy, and we all know the construction industry is one of the first things to be affected by a recession. So it's in your interest to vote. That's all I'm going to say on the topic now. I hope everybody appreciates that I'm only coming from that from a position of just generalism. Like, I'm not telling anyone how to vote, but you should vote. Everything's political. Maybe that's my new catchphrase. What have I missed here? What have I missed? Oh, sorry, Zed. I'm just seeing your comment now, your question, but that rant just now was probably a response to that, I guess, preemptively. Cootie Sauce, welcome, welcome. How do you balance asking for critique and independent learning? Sometimes some students don't ask for enough critique. Some may ask for too much at times. Also, hello, nice to see you live again. Hope your week was nice. Yeah, my week was nice. Um, are you saying how should a student approach the type of feedback that they want to get from a tutor? Like, let me try and read this again. Asking for a critique. I don't think the student necessarily has a say in what they want to, like, for example, let's say I was reviewing your work. Okay. I don't think you should be allowed to bring your work to me and tell me what type of feedback I'm going to give you. Does that make sense? Like, in other words, it comes down to the way in which the tutor can balance the tone of that feedback. And I think the best tutors should be able to I think the best tutors should be able to strike that balance. Sorry for the graphic nature of this one, but like we always called it the shit sandwich. Like, say one nice thing, say one real critical thing, and then finish with a really nice thing. And I think if you just follow that format for every student leaves happy. Does anyone disagree with that? Like, that's sort of how I like to do it. Because even in my Helsinki reviews, with the exception of maybe the really egregious ones, I always try to say a nice thing about all of them. Did I not? I'm pretty sure that I did. So let me see. You've got some follow-up comments here. Have I missed something? No, I mean, like, when is it too much to ask instead of trying to work more on before asking for more? Look, you can never ask for too much of your tutors. Your tutors, right? Your tutors are probably sorry. So Montoot Studio, you're here. If you're still listening, chime in on this one because he is a teacher. Or sorry, they are a teacher. I just assumed you're a man. Sorry about that. They teach. Um, they're not paid incredibly well from my experience. I know this from Rebecca. Okay, so like obviously Rebecca's my colleague. I hear these things. Rebecca's obviously paid well, but they only have so much time in the day. They only have so much time, and there are too many students, so they can only do their best with each and every student. So I say that to preface what I'm about to say to you, the students, right? They are your client. You pay them. You pay the student loans. You pay the tuition fees. Never, ever, ever, ever say this, okay? Because it's not fundamentally true, but try and understand the spirit in which I'm saying this. They work for you, right? It's in their interest for you to do as good as you can do. They want to help you. If they can give you the time, ask for the time. That's all I'm saying. I've never understood students who duck tutorials and don't go to reviews. What are you paying for? What did you even go to architecture school for? This is what you're paying for? It's the feedback. So there were students when I studied who were egregious. They were terrible. They try and get 5 reviews a day from the one tutor. I remember this one girl I studied with. She would be on before me. I'd be in the middle of my tutorial. She would interrupt my tutorial to get more feedback. I'd be like, go away. And in a way, I respected it. I respected the hustle. But like, just ask. I've never met a tutor who doesn't want to help a student, no matter the student. You just gotta ask, and they'll give you what they can give you. I hope that helps. I hope that's helpful. Where am I? Guys, we're over 9. We've been going over for an hour now, and we're almost at 20 in the chat. So I'm gonna get through the last of the comments here now in the chat. I'm going to do, guys, final round in the pub, last orders. I'm going to ring the bell. Ding, 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 ding. This is your last chance to get the questions and your comments. And okay, ding, 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 ding. This is it. So I'm going to get through these and I'm going to wrap it all up. Okay. So thanks everyone for joining. This has been good fun. Really great conversation tonight. So I'm going to get through the last of these now. Let me see. Have I skipped something? Oh, wait, I have skipped something. Yeah, Dan, thanks for chiming in there. Really appreciate it. Guys, I really appreciate it when you all talk with one another, just because it keeps the conversation kind of structured for me. So thank you. Cootie sauce. Also, what would be the best path to learn ArcViz? Would getting a graduate degree to potentially get licensed be a good backup instead of just not going to school and learning ArcViz? I've made all of my money in the last year doing ArcViz, and I never was formally trained in ArcViz. Does that help? When I was working in London, I was always a competition architect more often than not. And we had a guy who was an in-house visualizer, just incredibly talented. And he quit in like the middle of a project and they were like, Cal, we need you to make these images. And I was like, I don't know how to make these images. And they were like, we use Rhino and V-Ray. Can you use Rhino and V-Ray? And I was like, nah. I can't. And they're like, you got to try. So then I started picking up the slack and making the images. And then I got obsessed with Rhino and V-Ray. So then I started making, I was never a visualizer, I was always an architect. But when I could, I would help out teams and make quick images. And some of the visualizers there then would help me and critique me. And then I just developed an eye for ArcViz. I'm not a good ArcViz artist necessarily, but then when I moved to Sweden, I just turned it into like a freelance business. So what I'm getting at is I'm not formally trained. I pick up software very fast and I love making images and I've turned it into a little bit of a side business. So what I'm getting at is the best way to learn is to teach yourself. So much of the software is free now, I think. And there's so many great, I'm not having a conversation about AI, but there are a lot of AI tools now that can help you kind of skill up fast. I use Unreal Engine, but I used to use V-Ray for a long time. So yeah, just teach yourself, go for it. I've made more money doing ArcViz than I've ever made being an architect. Interesting. Last chance, people. Get your last questions in. I'm trying to get through the chat here. Where are we at? Laura's chatting to Dan. Henry Ward says, just checked what sunset time is in Stockholm. I'm just across the Baltic and more northern, yet yours is earlier. How do you do it? I don't know. It's tough. The winters are tough here. However, the trade-off's really nice because we get amazingly long, beautiful summers. So I take it. Take the good with the bad. That's how I do it. Cootie Sauce answered that. Dan's replying to Laura. Rwanda. I'm not sure I tend to give some comments or thoughts on or for critiques on certain aspects I'm not sure of. I find it odd to present work and simply say, what do you think? I don't know. It goes both ways, right? I don't think I ever just blindly would bring work to a teacher or a tutor. You know, you always do the spiel, right? Like, oh, well, this week I was working on this and I wanted to do this. And it's like, it's a conversation at the end of the day, I think. Connor says, advice for someone just starting their part one placement. It's a good question. Just listen, join every meeting, make notes, observe. A lot of part ones feel like there's a pressure for them to make things when the reality is there's just a pressure for you to learn things and they're not the same thing necessarily. My part one experience started pretty slow. Like I was on that InDesign grind, helping out with bids and competitions. And then by the end, I was like massively responsible for stuff, which isn't ideal. But what I'm getting is enjoy it. It's not okay. So I know there's a massive trend right now on the internet. Oh, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. Architecture's deep. We all know that, right? See your part one placement though, Connor. Your part one placement is not that deep. It's not. Enjoy it. Have fun, right? This is the best piece of advice I can probably give someone who's in their part one placement right now. I don't know where you're working. Maybe you're just working. Maybe it's just you and some lad who started his own practice and he's giving you a gig. Great, great. You'll learn loads. But maybe you're in a big commercial practice. So say you're a part one, you're in a big commercial practice, and there's like an activity happening in the office. Let's say they have like a guest speaker in, or they have they're doing a CPD. Oh, okay, you're a BDP. Fantastic then, perfect. Great example here. This is my advice to you, okay? Because I actually used to work right beside BDP. I don't know, are you in Dublin or are you in London? Doesn't matter. BDP is BDP. Um, let's say there's a fun activity happening in BDP, right? Because I bet they do lots of extracurricular things. Like they probably do like London. Ah, yeah, okay, great, great office. Like I used to work right around the corner from it. Clerkenwell, yeah, good spot. So let's say they're having like a fancy dress day, or they're doing like a life drawing class one day for an hour, or let's say they're just doing those activities that you get in those commercial practices, right? See if you're a part one, make sure you're going to those. And what I mean by that is the mistake I made when I was a part one is I'm too busy with this door schedule that will never be finished. Too busy. Didn't enjoy myself. I can't come for a pint after work. Too busy. Too busy. Deadline tomorrow. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The expectations on you as a part one are not as high as you probably think they are, especially if you're working somewhere like BDP. Don't get me wrong, massively intense commercial environment. Like I completely respect that. Congrats on getting the job, but It's not as deep as you probably think it is. Don't let people make you think it's deeper than it is. I don't know if you're familiar with a friend of ours, Benji Connell, massively talented architectural illustrator. Rebecca and I interviewed him on the Future Blueprint about a year ago. He worked at BDP. He has some really funny stories about working there. So check out that podcast. It's a good listen. But yeah, sun in studio, stress is dangerous, especially when you're young. The stress is not worth it, Connor. Do not be doing the overtime. It is not worth it. If you're talented enough to get a job at BDP now at your age, then you're talented enough, full stop. You'll be fine. So the advice is exactly lots of pints, socialize, make friends, network. Thanks for helping me arrive to that point. That's the number one thing you got to do as a part one. See, when I was a part one, it took me a long time to learn that. But because I did that and socialized and made friends, see, when part two came, I just had to make a phone call and was like, can I come back? And they were like, yes. And I was like, wow, got a job in like 5 minutes picking up a phone. It's like the biggest flex of my professional life. Imagine you could tell yourself that as a part one or a graduate. You'll be able to get a job in 2 years by just picking up the phone and asking for it. No interview, nothing. Yeah, because you were awesome when you were a part one. You were helpful. Everyone remembers you. Everyone liked you. You networked, you know. So that's my advice to you people. Enjoy it. Enjoy the experience. It doesn't get serious until you're sort of in part two, getting to part three, and then you're really professional then, you know. I mean, be professional. I'm just saying, have fun. Wrapping up. We're wrapping up. How many last ones have we got here? Guys, there are no more questions coming in. Sorry, 1 second. Have I missed anything? Dan, thanks for replying to that. Raha says, how was your last year as a student? I'm trying to cope, but I think I'm burning out. I burned out as well, but I still made it. I actually just phoned it in at the end. Yeah, I didn't really do my project justice in the end. I did it sort of as a protest. I was too tired. My last year was brilliant. I loved it, but burnout isn't good, but I'm sure it's pretty normal. You'll be fine, Raha. Don't worry. Raha, join next week. I can give you more detail on it, okay? If you're still doing okay. Laura Oliveira, architectural book suggestions. By the way, you're more into architectural, urban. Definitely architectural books. Read fiction. Read fiction, Laura. Fiction can be good. Sorry, I'm just conscious of time here. I want to try and get through the messages. I'm not answering these too deeply right now, but I'll be back next week. Don't worry, people. Monage Studio says, I agree. Most teachers want to help, never be scared to ask for criticism, but also the criticism is a vehicle for you to develop self-criticism. I agree completely, exactly. Spoken like a proper architecture teacher. Much appreciated. Ask for help. Because if the teacher doesn't want to help you, they're not probably shouldn't be teaching. Maybe for the next stream, is architecture dead? Yeah, maybe. Do you think I should start theming the streams? Maybe. Connor, we were chatting there. What else am I looking at here? Poyaz, welcome. I'm new here and I wonder if you're doing portfolio reviews. I don't know. Sorry if it's irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. We have talked about this. Rebecca and I are going to be launching a new system soon. So the future blueprint, we're going to be doing it. So I will be part of that. But I'm not going to be reviewing portfolios on here. I know people need help with their portfolios. I know because my DMs are flooded with it. We're trying to find a solution for it because Rebecca and I are teachers. It's in our nature, but we can't afford the time to review all of them because we're not being paid to do it. And it's terrible that that's the way that it is, but it's the way that it is, I'm afraid. So we're looking into a solution. I see. Have I missed anything here? Wait, did you answer if age 27 is too late for grad school? No, I was 26. I was 26, so I wouldn't worry. I'm an old architect. I did everything a bit late. So no, it's not too late. If you're talking about too late, too old for grad school, no, I don't think so. Yeah, Dan, okay, I see that. Maybe we should start picking topics then, because I am just sort of coming in here and then just chatting with you all every week, which is good fun, but maybe I should theme them. So maybe I'll work on that. That makes me feel a lot better. You're awesome. Thank you. Yeah, don't worry about the age thing. Age doesn't matter. But I was I was 25 when I started my master's, and then I finished at 27. Have I got that right? I think so. Getting old. People, that is it. I've been going for over an hour and a half now. That's it. No more questions. Okay, one last question, Laura. LinkedIn, is that important for architects as for other professional areas? I've never really used it. It's never got me a job. It's never been useful for me other than anything other than my own entertainment. Not for me. Some people swear by it. It's user dependent. Depends what you think. Um, Patrick, I'm really, really sorry. I'm gonna just wrap it up there. Um, okay, I'm gonna answer your question, and it's gonna be the last thing, people. Okay, so this is the last bit. The live stream is going at 1 hour, 25 minutes. I'm gonna spend 5 minutes ranting about this one now. Hi, I saw the statement that this generation of Starchitects is the last. Can you elaborate further? Um, I think it's going to be one of two things. I think it's going to become it's going to be more difficult than ever for a young architect to break through now because of the economy and because of the nature of the profession. And I also think that is going to run parallel with the industry's rejection of that type of figure in the industry. So maybe that doesn't require 5 minutes. Patrick, does that make sense? Like, I'm just reading the tea leaves here. That's just how I'm understanding the way the trends are going at the minute. Now, I have a lot of fun making fun of Starchitects, but I deeply love a lot of the Starchitects too. So it goes both ways. But I do think the whole Starchitecture idea of architects is becoming a little bit pastiche, maybe a little bit lame, a little bit outdated, a little bit out of touch. I mean, it's such a poor representation of the industry considering there's only like 10 of them, right? And they've got all the wealth and all the success, but the general profession doesn't earn a lot of money. Not that kind of money, right? So I think those architects in general are brilliant in their own right, but they're very much of a time and of a place. And I would say, maybe you can correct me, chap. Bjork Ingles might have been the last one just to get in there right at the end. Like he just slid under the shutter just before it shut. And he's now in his 50s, which is young for an architect, right? I'm pretty sure he's in his 50s. But let's say his star started to rise when he was like my age. So like his early 30s. And I look now at someone my age, now in my early 30s. I'm not brilliant, right? I'm not that well connected. I'm not rich. But I don't know how I don't know how anyone does it. How do you do it in this economy? Why would anyone trust you with a fortune to design a building now? Like the industry's so hyper regulated. So and I how do I say this? I would like to think I'm very well connected with the profession though. Like I know all my contemporaries, like I know everyone who's around my age. I know people who I would recommend to people, like no problem, like really great architects, really young practices doing really exciting work, really competent, really talented. But even them, I'm like, yeah, but they're not going to be a star architect. That's absurd. So I think, Patrick, that's all I meant by that when I said it. And I know it was a pretty much of a loaded comment, but I don't see how the economy and the profession will allow for a new cohort of star architects. I think if we get a new version of that, right, they're not going to become famous and successful necessarily by running an architecture practice. It'll probably be because they've been innovative. They've probably founded a startup that solves a lot of problems within the industry, and then they use that to launch their career. So maybe we will see a new generation of star architects, but it won't be in the traditional context in which we understand it. So I'm talking about a lot of this now, and maybe I'm changing my mind. I don't know. Um, it's an interesting conversation, though. Maybe that'll be the theme for next week. Um, so sorry, Patrick. Thanks for getting in the last question there. I hope that was helpful. Anything else before I go? One last one. Yeah, in today's world, being a good business person is just as important as having strong architectural skills. It's probably more important these days, I have to say. Guys, this is it. This is goodbye. We've been going for an hour and 30 minutes now. It has been fantastic. I've loved having you all here. You all know the drill. Every Thursday night, I'm going to be here taking your questions. Next week, I'm going to try and theme it, okay? Do me a favor if you're still here. I see that there's still a lot of you here in the room. If you haven't done so already, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I need subscribers. Subscribers help with everything. So your support helps me do these live streams and make more content, more review content. This was great fun. Really sorry if I missed your question. I do try to get every single question in. Thank you for joining. All the best. And this will be available for a rewatch in about 12 hours. So have a good week. Good luck with the crits. Good luck with work. All the best, people. See you soon. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Bye.